If you're anything like me, you may have come to the realization that being in debt sucks. And over the last several years, we've been finding ways to save money to help us on our debt-free journey. And in this video, I'm going to share that information with you to help you on your debt-free journey. So stick around. All right, I'm not even going to waste time. I'm going to get right into it. So number one, the first thing we did to start saving money on our debt-free journey is we had a super cheap wedding. That's right. Did you know, I saw this study that said the average wedding cost $33,000. $33,000. Now my brother, who's smarter than I am, he went to City Hall and got married and paid basically nothing and got married for no expense. And he put all of the money that they were going to put into their wedding into a down payment on a house. Now my wife and I, we didn't get married at City Hall like my brother did. The next best thing was just a very small scale wedding. So what we did was we booked our wedding to be done at a small bed and breakfast. And at this bed and breakfast, we could only have a maximum of 40 people to fit in the venue. Now you might be thinking, only 40 people? Like that's really, really small wedding. Like, you know, a lot of people might not have more than that in their family, and we do too. So what ended up happening is my wife and I had very large bridal parties. So she had like 8 or 9 bridesmaids, and I had 8 or 9 groomsmen. And basically, like, almost half of the people that were at the wedding were in our bridal parties, which was kind of cool. And everybody else was seated in the room, a very small room. But we made it work. We hired a college student to be the photographer. We got a really good price with him. He did some fantastic work. I think we got really lucky in picking him, and I'll show some of the pictures here that he took. They just came out beautiful. So we got really lucky there. I hired my sister, my very talented sister, who is currently on a scholarship at NYU, to sing some songs. So she was our entertainment. I paid her. Another thing we did on our own for our wedding is we designed all of the centerpieces on all of the tables, and my mother-in-law did basically all of the cooking for the post-wedding festivities, and the food was great. She did a really great job. She's a very great cook, and so that was awesome and saved us a lot of money at our wedding. And the biggest way that we saved money by doing it at this bed and breakfast venue was that, so we booked our own hotel room. I forget, there was probably less than 10 rooms in this whole bed and breakfast, and we had all of our friends that were in the wedding as bridesmaids and groomsmen. A large majority of them bought their own rooms in this bed and breakfast. So essentially, all of our friends helped pay for the venue, and so we basically bought out the whole bed and breakfast for that night, and it was just a great night. It was amazing, and we did it all ourselves on a very small budget. I think we may have spent around $1,500 total for our whole wedding, and yeah. So if you want to do something like that, cheap enough to save some money, you can do that. And so we ended up using the majority of the money that we received as wedding gifts. We put all of that money towards our tiny house that I am filming in right now, that I'll talk about a little bit later. Alright, so now we're at tip number 2 for saving money on your debt-free journey. And that point is, stop using credit cards. We have stopped using credit cards maybe a couple years ago when we paid them off. We stopped using them completely. We did, when we first moved in here, we did have some large expenses that we had to put on our credit card originally, but we have since paid them all off, and we cut them up, set them on fire. We never have used another credit card. Now, there are arguments to use them in certain situations, like for, say, things that you're planning to buy anyway, that you can in turn get rewards from certain, credit cards for things you were going to buy anyway. You'll pay them off at the end of the month. That's one thing. I just didn't like the idea of having them around in the first place, because the fact that they're there, it's very easy to make a purchase without thinking about it. The one good thing about living in a tiny space is that it's tiny, so we have to be very thoughtful about the things that we buy to put in this space, because we don't have a lot of space to put things. So it makes you stop and think before you purchase, and credit card makes it very easy to purchase things. I think there's a saying that goes, we spend money we don't have on things we don't need to impress people we don't even like. And credit cards are the vehicle that allows you to do those things. So just eliminating credit cards eliminates the ability to buy things you don't need. It eliminates debt. Credit cards put you in debt, and you don't want to do that. We want to get out of debt. That's the whole point of this video. So get rid of those credit cards. All right, now we're on to step number 3, and this is to eliminate unnecessary bills. Now that could mean a lot of things. That's a broad statement. Unnecessary bills are basically everything that you pay for each month that you might have on autopilot, that might come out of your bank account every month, that you set up a long time ago, but you might not even think about it on a daily basis, because you really don't have to. They make things very easy. Alright, so what are some of those bills that we're talking about that we pay every month that we might not think about? One of them is your insurance. You might be paying a certain price for insurance, but you haven't looked around at other companies, gotten a quote that might be cheaper. That's a very easy thing to do. You might be spending a lot of money on cable TV, and let's be honest, you don't need the cable TV anymore. Everything that you possibly want is streaming on your computer. It's streaming online. You don't need the cable TV that charges you so much money for hundreds of channels that you don't even watch when you only watch a handful of them. So you could easily cut the cable TV, and that would save you a lot of money every month. Now, the biggest change we've made to save money is with our cell phone provider. Now, we had been with AT&T for basically as long as I've had a cell phone. I've had AT&T, and we were paying about $100 a month, my wife and I, and we discovered a provider called Mint Mobile. And what Mint Mobile does is they have you pay in bulk for the entire year of coverage. So we got their lowest level program, which came to $360 for the whole year. We paid that all at once, and I mean, you could tell we were paying $100 a month with AT&T, and we switched to just pay $360 a month for both of us for the entire year, and we're done. So we saved something like $900 just by switching cell phone providers. That has no difference in coverage. It was just, it's mind-boggling how much we've saved by switching cell phone providers from AT&T to Mint Mobile. So if you are looking for a way to save money on your cell phone plan, I highly recommend considering Mint Mobile. Check them out. Ryan Reynolds is, I think, an owner or a sponsor of it, and he does really funny ads for it, but it's been great for us. You should check it out. Alright, now we're on to tip number 4. Stop buying every new piece of technology. Now, this is a really hard thing to do, because it seems like every day there's some new exciting product that's out on the market that, the commercials make sound irresistible. When it comes to things like the iPhone, where every like 6 months or so they come out with a new product launch, those new phones aren't that much better than the previous phone, but they keep getting more expensive and they make you feel like you have to get rid of what you had in order to get something better. And that whole process, consumerism thing, it never ends. You can get trapped in it. So what I've done is I do have an iPhone, the iPhone SE, which if you look at this, you might think this is like ancient. It came out 2017, something like that, 2018, I don't know, but it still works and I like the size of it. I don't want to upgrade, and yeah, like if anything, I would like to go downgrade to some kind of dumb phone that is cheaper and simpler. I don't know, my whole life's on the iPhone, but I really am just kind of tired of it. The same thing with the phone goes with all like laptops and computers. They can be very expensive, but I mean any like computer within the last like 5-6 years is a good computer that you could do basically any task you need to do. So you don't need to spend like $2,000 on the newest like MacBook Pro or whatever. You can get something a few years older that might be a little bit slower, but like everything works so well that you don't need the newest thing to be able to be successful in whatever you're doing. And the same thing goes for our TVs. I mean, really, do we even need a TV these days? Probably not. But I mean, we have a Roku Smart TV. It's an HD, which is like ancient. And we go to friends' houses and they have 4K TVs and the picture is like crisp, clear, beautiful. It looks like you can walk through into the into the movie or whatever you're watching. But do we need it? No. It works fine. Why spend the money on it? All right, now we're on to tip number 5 in saving money on your debt-free journey. Step number 5 is to start doing things yourself. Now, for us, that means we wanted to have a deck built in front of our house. We could have paid someone to do it for $2,000. I chose to do it myself for $200. That's a big difference. And is it the greatest thing in the world that I built? No, but it works. And I did it. And I'm proud of it. It means, say you have a leak under your sink, instead of calling a plumber, you turn off your water, look it up on YouTube how to fix that pipe, and find whatever piece it is you need to fix it yourself. When we first moved into our tiny house, we had a leak in our water heater, and at first I started panicking. I was like, oh my god, I have to call a plumber, I have to do this, I have to do that. I simply watched a video, got a wrench, tightened a bolt, and the leak stopped. And luckily I didn't panic enough to call a plumber and have to pay a couple $100s for them to tighten something that I clearly could have done myself because I did do it myself. Fixing something like that, or building something like that out like our deck, those are small feats, they're small things, but it's very empowering when you realize that you can do a lot of things on your own and you don't always need to call an expert to do this or that. You can become an expert in a lot of different things, and you have all of everything that you need is online, and you have so many resources to learn, more than any time in our history. So we need to take advantage of that. Another easy thing you could do yourself is cut your own hair. Buy a set of clippers for $20 or whatever it is, and my wife cuts my hair. And I paid for those clippers one time for $20, $25, whatever they cost. And I haven't added up how much you save, but I used to spend $20, $25 on haircuts every month or so. And for the past it might be our entire relationship. Stephanie has been cutting my hair, so I haven't gotten a haircut in a very long time. So that's another way you could easily do something yourself to save money. All right, now for tip number 6. Drive less. That's easier said than done, but the way things have been going, specifically within this last year, with the whole virus thing, is a lot of people have been working from home, meaning a lot of people haven't had to travel to work like they used to. And I mean, if you can, maybe you could get rid of a car. That's something that we did. We had 2 vehicles. We're now down to 1. I sold my personal vehicle since I'm currently working at home. I'm taking care of our daughter. I'm going to be starting a farm. And I don't need my personal vehicle to drive to and from work anymore because I'm working at home. And my wife is working at home as a teacher. She's teaching from home, doing her lessons from home. So by switching, getting rid of a car, going down to 1 vehicle, our car insurance went down about $80 a month. And we're saving money on gas because we're not driving basically anywhere. I'm sure a lot of people are saving money on gas that haven't had to travel now. That's something else I've realized about cars. A lot of people probably know this already. They are the worst investment you can make. Like, as soon as you drive a brand new car off the lot, you know, it loses value like that. And you don't have to buy a brand new car. And I think I used to be in the mindset like, oh, I have to have the newest, I have to have the best thing, you know, with the car. And you don't have to do that. So I think in the future, if we get another car, it's going to be a used car, and we're going to save a lot of money by buying a used car in good condition rather than, you know, a brand new car for a lot more money. It's just not necessary. All right, tip number 7. We aren't paying for childcare. Now, this is not a criticism, of course, in any way of anybody that does pay for childcare. It's just really expensive, and if we don't have to pay that every month, that's a huge benefit. Plus, I just don't like the idea personally of having someone else do a job that I know that I can and should be doing, which is taking care of my own kid and raising my own child. So that's just my thought personally. We're going to save a lot of money. That is very, very expensive. Childcare could end up being like another rent payment every month, depending on where you take your child. So that's just something that we wanted to avoid. I mean, we want to get out of debt, so we don't have to spend money on something we could do ourselves. All right, tip number 8. Grow your own food. That is one of the easiest things that you could do on your own, is purchase some seeds and plant your own food. It's going to be better food than you get at the grocery store. It's going to feel better because you know that you're the one that planted those seeds yourself and put in the work to take care of them. And it's something that we're working on ourselves every year. For the past 2 or 3 years, we've had a larger garden. Every year we've made it a little bit bigger, and this year I have some very ambitious goals of turning the other side of our property, about a 1/4 acre, into a market style garden to sell produce at a local farmers market. So we're going to not only have a larger personal garden, we're going to have a large market style garden to sell. So those are things that you can do very easily to save money. We've also added a small flock of chickens within the last few months, and they are finally starting to produce us with some eggs, which is another burden that will be taken off of our grocery list that we'll be able to get from our own backyard, which is super exciting. And yeah, I really love growing food, and I'm going to be making a lot more videos encouraging others to pursue growing food themselves. All right, tip number 9. Wow, we're getting up there. This is an easy one. It's just stop buying new clothes. I'm not a very fancy person, so this is easy for me. Recently, I lost a bunch of weight, and I had a lot of pairs of jeans that suddenly became too large for me, so I bought 2 new pairs of jeans, and now they are the only 2 pairs of jeans that I wear on a daily basis. I have 2 pairs of jeans, a couple of t-shirts that I've had for years and years. I rarely ever buy new clothes. It's just not that important to me, and that's just a simple way to save money. It's very simple. For our daughter, we get a lot of hand-me-downs from family, from their kids that don't, clothes that no longer fit them. And yeah, it's just not buying new clothes is a very easy way to save money. All right, last tip, number 10 on how to save money on your debt-free journey, and that is to live as cheaply as possible. Now, I live in a tiny house. We saved money and bought this tiny house in cash, so we are essentially mortgage free on the house that we live in. Yes, it may be small. Yes, within the last year, with everybody stuck at home, it has been a bit more challenging than in previous years because we are all in this small space all the time, which was not the original purpose of this. It was to not have as many bills to pay so we could go and travel more, but just the way things are going, we haven't been able to do that. And yes, it has been challenging, but my view is that debt in general is a form of modern day slavery. You might not like that analogy, but I can't see it any other way. It's a way that keeps the low middle class down, and the elites step on us and keep us down using their powers of money and leverage that they have. And I don't want any part of that system. So living in a tiny house may, yes, be a little bit uncomfortable at times, but I would argue that it would be a lot more uncomfortable to live life as a debt slave. So I refuse to take part in that system. So that's why we live in a tiny house. You know, at the end of the day, I just want to be and feel like a free man, and this is just the way that looks for our family. Now, living in a tiny house might seem a little crazy or not feasible for your situation, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't, say, downsize from a larger home to a slightly smaller home, you know, and pay a little bit less in rent or mortgage each month. That could be very helpful. You might not want to do that, but it's something that's a very easy thing to do. Is just downsize and get something a little bit cheaper and pay less each month. Because that's, let's be honest, food and rent where we live are like the 2 largest bills that we have each month. So if we can make them as little as possible, that just equals more freedom for you and your family. And that's what I'm searching for in my life, and hopefully helping you search for in yours and achieve that. So how about you? What other ways do you save money each month other than the ways that I've listed in this video? And what would you do with more money, say if you didn't have a mortgage or rent to pay each month? What would you do with that extra money? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We do a lot of content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.